Volodymyr Zelensky's Gulf tour came to an end with a major announcement of Ukraine agreeing on a deal meant to supply weapons and defense technology to help unblock the Strait of Hormuz. Joining me now to talk the latest around the war in the Gulf and its consequences is Daniela Schwarzer, executive board member at Bertelsmann Stiftung. Thank you so much for joining me on the program.
Good evening. Happy to be with you tonight.
Thank you. So considering the Ukrainian activity in the Middle East, do you think that this deal between the Gulf states and Ukraine is an exchange deal? Is there a chance that Ukraine, having successfully possibly helped the Gulf states and the rest of the world, in fact, when you think about the economic impact, will be able to get more help in return?
First of all, I think it was a very smart move of Ukraine and Zelensky in particular to position Ukraine as a country that, despite its need for support, military, financial support, also as a country that can help others. And the first move, which was sending 200 specialists, drone specialists to the Gulf states to help up defense, was a first very important step. I think that drew attention to Ukraine at a moment when Ukraine and Russia's war in Ukraine was really going to the background, and all attention was put on the Gulf and Iran in particular. Now, with the latest deal, I think he has even strengthened Ukraine's position vis-à-vis the Gulf states. And what becomes increasingly clear is the alliances that are at play in Russia's war in Ukraine, as it has been supported by Iran and other states like North Korea. They also play out in other security arenas and here in the Middle East. So I do believe that the Gulf states may be more inclined to think about supporting Ukraine the other way around as well, thanks to their support and thanks to their understanding that, of course, Russia plays a role for Iran as much as Iran plays a role for Russia.
Mm-hmm. So this deal that we're looking at, according to the information that was released, is meant for 10 years and should see the Gulf, when it comes to their end of the bargain, to provide Ukraine with energy supplies. Do you think that if that actually materialized, this could actually change the balance of power in the battlefield when it comes to Ukraine and Russia?
Well, as you said, this is a long-term deal, and for the moment, we will have to see how effective the deal can work both ways. I think for the immediate time, it is important that Europeans continue supporting Ukraine and that Ukraine's, basically Western supporters for the moment do not consider this deal to reduce the efforts they need to make. I think that's very important to see. But over the medium term, I think there is an additional source, of course, for Ukraine in terms of energy and possibly also in terms of political support that they may get when, for instance, Ukrainian questions are discussed in the United Nations or elsewhere. Because some of the Gulf states have, in previous conflicts, played an important role between conflict parties in mediating. And it may be for Ukraine's benefit if more countries get interested in the way this war ends. Currently, the United States are engaging to end the war, but Ukraine has to have doubts about the neutrality, of course, that the United States bring to the negotiation table.
So what do you think is the response? What is the U.S. administration now thinking, considering that President Zelensky announced this deal? As they're looking from the side, we've heard from President Trump that first he wanted these experts on drone technology from Ukraine to come over to the Middle East. Then we heard the U.S. has the best drone technology in the world and he doesn't want Ukrainian help. Now we're having this deal. What do you think is the response?
I think it is, first of all, very important that Ukraine shows agency. And if I observe Donald Trump in relationships with other leaders or countries, it has in many cases proven to be beneficial to come to the table as an actor, as an active player. And Zelensky has just shown that. And I think that is already a better position for Ukraine than not showing that kind of agency. With regards to Donald Trump's positions on Ukraine and drone technology, indeed, the position has shifted. So it's very hard for me to tell where he moves next. I think it's almost impossible to know. But what I think we structurally see is that Ukraine, thanks to the experience it has, in particular in anti-drone defense, that it is an increasingly important player. And the leaders in the Gulf region will, of course, honor this new relationship that Zelenskyy has just been building in terms of returns. And we have seen the energy part of the deal, and I do believe this also politically strengthens him, not only in terms of energy provision.
As we look at the situation in the Middle East and we zoom out, in your opinion, how is the European Union dealing with the fallout of the war in the Gulf in terms of economy? I mean, does Europe have it under control, or perhaps something worse is yet to come?
Well, the economic effects of the war are very tough for Europe to bear. We see fossil energy prices on the rise. There now is an increasing discussion about the inflationary pressure that is coming, expectations that central banks will have to raise interest rates are coming, and all of this puts enormous weight on the real economy. Already now, we hear that the high fuel price puts a lot of price pressure on a number of industries, of course, but also of services, like people who have to use their card to deliver the services they deliver. All of this is an extra burden. And the economic growth of the European Union was not forecast to be very strong this year anyway. And there's a real risk that the high energy prices push the European Union further back in terms of economic recovery. So another result is, of course, that governments discuss what they can do, what the European Union can do together. And we actually may see national measures that distort the conditions in the single market, which in my view would be a bad result for Europe. So it's very important that, in particular, if there is a move towards subsidizing and so on, that this is done in compliance with the single market rules, because our real strength at the moment is the single market and the economic power we have. So it is very important not to undermine that through national measures.
Our time on the program is slowly coming to an end, but before we go, one more question. U.S. is pressuring Lithuania to open routes to allow Belarus to transport its potash. The EU is refusing to get involved with Belarus because of the package of sanctions and the close relationship that Minsk has with Moscow. Why do you think Donald Trump is trying to warm the relations with Lukashenko's regime?
Well, there are competing explanations, and one of them has been for a long while, because this attempt to build a new relationship with Belarus, or to loosen the tensions in the relationship, could serve to pull Belarus further away from Putin. And Donald Trump has spoken of easing sanctions, of a visit of Lukashenko to Washington, and all of this is something that Trump has brought to the table a few months ago already. But I personally do not believe that Belarus can be drawn away from Putin and Russian influence easily, because this has been built, this very strong Russian influence on the country. Trump has had some results, positive results in terms of prisoner release, of course. There were also a number of non-Belarusian prisoners released, including Americans, so that may also have been a goal for him. But I think structurally, what he is doing at the moment and what he's asking Europeans to do will not fundamentally loosen the close ties between Russia and Belarus.
Thank you very much. Daniela Schwarzer, Executive Board Member at Bertelsmann Stiftung, was my guest on the program. Thank you again for joining.
Thank you very much.
And so this would be all for now. Thank you for joining. I'm Klaudia Czerwińska, and I hope to see you back here on TVP World for more news and features in just a moment. But until then, good night.